We have circles.
Yeah, I just always wanted to be in the. Oh, we got
And we have
squares.
squares, and then we're back to the usual. Yeah, our provider is providing options, as they may say, and sometimes we may need one of those, but for now we will stick to what we know.
Yeah, with everything else changing, maybe sticking to a couple of things we're familiar with is not a bad thing.
I hear you. How are you doing this beautiful, beautiful ninth day of October, where we have our EP 16 of Eavesdrop in a Moment?
Yeah,
October, Tracy. October.
October. We're in October. I know. It's like that fast rush to the holiday season.
Ah.
Well, I don't know about you because I mean you're there in Liberia right now, but so much has been on my heart since the last hurricane came through here because there's so much
Okay.
devastation in North Carolina
I
as well
know,
as
I know, I
Florida.
heard. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
How I haven't been watching, international news, but how I hear a lot of lives were lost, towns, roads washed away.
Yeah, in
Um,
Asheville, the Asheville area of North Carolina, which is in the western, the mountains, that region. Yeah, it's been devastating. And what's I think hard for those of us who, you do what you can. At first it's like, what can I do? And
uh-huh.
then everybody in the community finds ways, and but because we're in a time where we don't just have media, we have social media.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different stories coming out, and I believe it leads to kind of what we've been talking about now. I talk about all the time is really being discerning with what you believe,
Mm,
with what the way I like to frame it is what you choose to know.
okay.
And where you're going to focus your energy, because we can get really easily pulled into the devastation stories,
Mm,
and to honor, right, that lots of lives were lost, and there's still the cleanup is, I think, going to be, I mean, months and months and months.
wow.
I was talking to a
Wow.
client. I mean, there's still people they haven't even found,
Yeah.
and I was talking to a client of mine who was in Florida, has been in Florida. So, of course, they're bracing for, the
Number
next,
two.
yeah,
Yeah.
next, which I guess is one of the biggest ones, we've seen historically speaking.
Wow.
Um, and he had been walking some of the beaches. He didn't know that there were these, mandatory stay off the beach, because he kind of
Okay.
he had just come into town. He has a place in Florida, and he goes down there periodically. And he wanted to prepare, the house, because it kind of is in, right,
In
is
the path.
the trajectory path,
Oof.
yeah.
Wow.
And but he had taken some time to walk, some of these beaches from the last hurricane, and he said, Traci, the debris, like
Mm.
6 feet high,
Wow. Wow.
trash and
Wow.
ocean debris, and and so they won't even have time to clean all that up before the next one. So I think when we're dealing with these kind of catastrophic events, that so much uncertainty. I mean, even the one that's passed, there's still so much uncertainty. When will because the roads were just washed away in certain areas, right? So when will
Mm.
we be able to get food and water and
Mm.
medical assistance, and not to mention the cleanup crews and all of that. I think with all of that, it's really slowing down, and because we can easily rush to with our emotions, with our ideas, with our thoughts on how to fix it, and I think not to say we shouldn't try to get in
Mm.
there and do things, but to sit back and really take in the immensity of you know what our brothers and sisters are dealing with.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We don't have to
Yeah.
let it drag us down as much as it can kind of remind us. And I keep thinking about all these studies, the prayer studies that they've done, where people collectively get together and pray and send
Hmm.
prayers to like a war zone, or I know they've done it in
Correct.
the United States to areas that are plagued by gang violence and things like that. And
Hmm.
that's really where I've been choosing to put a lot of my energy and effort,
Gotcha.
is just
Gotcha.
spending daily, stopping periodically
Hmm.
through the day and giving 10 minutes of prayer and positive energy towards you know towards lifting
Yeah.
up these areas. So anyway, I just wanted to share that because I felt it's been so much on my heart. It really has.
Wow. 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 You know, Katrina occurred, and then a couple other ones. I don't know what's. So the next one that's coming is considered one of the biggest ever.
Yeah, it's category 5. It's like, I think, the
Okay.
fourth biggest that they've ever seen, historically speaking.
Wow.
Milton.
Wow.
Yeah.
I hope, most times when, I've seen them say category 5, and then at least prior to hitting land, it drops down a couple, categories or so. Hope that that's the usual MO. And I pray that it does, that curve and goes back into the ocean, not hit land, because to just have that double whammy, that's something that some people can give up on. So for eavesdroppers who I see you're coming in, we're just talking about hurricane devastation in Carolinas, Florida, and then part two, the second one that's coming. Just praying that all the family members. 'Cause I have a couple family members in Florida, um, and then we're in North Carolina, where I think it was hit really hard. Asheville. It didn't come. Did it come near you? You had a lot of rains in
It came
Pittsburgh.
through. It came through. It was a little scary there for about an hour and a half here, at the
Wow.
house. We lost
Wow.
power, and there were, blaring stuff on our phones, that there were tornado sightings. I mean, just Siler City, which is, it's where my daughter goes to school. So,
Mm.
I mean, sideways, we're talking about like sideways rain, very high
Yeah.
winds for
Yeah.
about an hour. So we lost power and everything. And, but
Mm.
it didn't stall over us like it did Asheville. And that was
Gotcha.
where the devastation came from, is the storm was powerful, but it's because it stalled over the area for
Mm. Mm.
quite a while.
Yeah.
And, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope, I would just pray that, mercy's safety and, just I pray people, some people don't want to leave their homes. They're attached to it. I pray they do the right thing in this time. If they're supposed to hunker down, sure. If they're not, just leave the area. And it was easy for me to say, but I know what is easy for me to say because when the war came, we left everything and we got our lives, right? So your life is so much more important than the stuff. Please. Hey
Yeah.
Cheryl, I see what you're saying here. Praying for friends and family. Yeah, we are. I think Jeff just said that's supposed to be a cat 4 at landfall. Whew. Wait, Jeff. Hope all is well with you, my brother. So what's going on? What's going
Well,
on other than I know we are. This is like, and it's good, it's good.
I mean,
Tell
it's
me,
life. It's life, and
it is.
and we're here to talk about the things that come up, and so the beautiful thing is that people can choose where they spend their time. So if that's not what they want to hear, then they can click off. But I think that that it's really important that all of us listen to what I tell my clients, I'm sure they feel it ad nauseum, listen to your head, heart, gut, and intuition. Are you
Mm,
listening to your four intelligences? I mean, they're referred to as intelligences for a reason. They have valid data, and if my heart is telling me to stop and pause and feel, I had an interesting thing happen last night. So it's been going on over the last couple of weeks. So my daughter plays volleyball, and I know that I mentioned that before. And they have a coach this year. Well, he's been there for the last couple of years. They've had a very difficult time finding a coach.
okay.
Unfortunately, she goes to a public school that isn't very well funded. It's in, kind of an area, and it's great. She loves it because it's diverse. She's like, this is what the world population is made of, mom. And, I want to be there. I don't want to be one of these kids tucked away in prestigious schools that don't see a lot of times what the world is really made up of. And I mean, that's her
Mm,
perspective. And I think it's a fair one,
mm-hmm,
but it does mean that they, get kind of what's left over. um, but this man who's coaching, I'm very grateful that he stepped forward. He's not a good coach. And yet, you work with it. And so I think, I've been telling myself for, the whole season, he's doing the best he can. He's doing the best he can.
mm-hmm,
Just really a lot of gratitude for the fact that he's even willing to take the position, and the girls can have a team and that kind of thing. But you definitely see it wearing on the girls. And, after a while, I started saying to myself, really, it's all just about the game. It's not about, as long as the girls get to play, they love it. They love that,
mm,
my daughter loves volleyball. And, but this year being a senior, it's always kind of been that the seniors, that's what you're there to do, is rotate the kids, but the seniors get playtime because this is their last year.
correct.
And my daughter's short. She got my husband's genes. um, and so he's been playing all the tall players. And, I watched her yet again sitting on the bench for most of the night.
Mm,
And I said to my husband, I said, I got to go say something, because I felt my blood boiling. And it
mm-hmm,
wasn't just for my kid. There are two
okay.
of them. My daughter, who is a very consistent player. It's not like she's not a good player, and it's not like they're having a winning, season. Just let the girls play. Like, come on. It's just. I mean, let's be honest. But this other girl sitting in the whole bench, like my daughter did play for I think about maybe 6 minutes. But one girl, and they were all suited up for breast cancer month. So
Uh-huh.
they had done all this cute stuff with their hair, and they were in pink, and they had put all these little sparkly things on their faces and stuff. And I watched the other girl, who's an exchange student. I thought, well, she's never going to have another opportunity.
Mm,
She came here to experience what it was like to be a part of a team and play, and she's not being given that opportunity.
mm,
And so
mm,
I walked up to the coach and I said, hey, coach, I don't want this to come across as disrespectful, because I really respect your position. but I'm just wondering why you're not rotating your bench.
Hmm.
And I said, because I've watched the last number of games and I've watched the other team, and they usually have double the players and their coaches rotate all the players. And he says, well, we he gives me all this. I said, look, I played volleyball in high school. I know the game.
Hmm.
And I did say, which I'm sure he might have taken offense to, I said, I got to be honest. It's not a winning season. This isn't the Olympics. These girls just want to play. Can we
Yeah.
just let them play?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I think I'm doing a pretty good job. And I said, I can see you think you are.
Hmm.
And I don't want to take that away from you. I'm just asking if we can make sure that the girls are all playing. And, I wasn't saying it because my kid was one of the people on the bench. I would have said something regardless if I had seen that. And I'll tell you what, I woke up this morning and the anger was gone. The frustration was gone. I don't know what he's going to do. I mean, my daughter's like, well, I'm not playing anyway, so it's not like he can play me any less. But, and I don't know what's going to happen. And that's not the point. It wasn't the point. I think a lot of times we feel frustration and we think it's because we necessarily want to change the environment. I'd like the environment to change. But that's not why I said what I said. I said what I said because I was in the position to say it. And I think that's, when we get to, oh yeah, no short jokes. Sorry, honey. Again, you know me, call a spade a spade. But I like the short. There's a lot good about being short. Trust me. Being tall is not always a great thing, but it's one of those things that I think that when we have something to say, I mean, there's so much pent up anger in the world. And I often find working with people that frustration and anger comes less from what we're seeing in others and more from what we're not admitting to ourselves or not speaking forward. We hold that emotion, we sit on it, we marinate on it, it festers, we carry it, and then it comes out at most inopportune moments. And when I woke up feeling so much lighter about this subject and feeling so much love for that man, like, again, the gratitude could shine through because the anger was gone, and the anger was gone because I spoke my truth. Not to try to cajole, or force him to do anything, but simply to share it. I mean, when I walked away, I said, I want to thank you for sharing your perspective and for listening to mine.
Gotcha. So I've coached AAU, and been around some parents. I was on a coaching staff, an assistant coach, who was more of a relationship manager with parents and the head coach. And I can see, in fact, my daughter during one of those seasons, she wasn't being played. And I knew why she wasn't being played, but it still hurt. It still hurt. But then there are other parents so a couple different categories, I would say, a couple things I would say about what you did. One, a clear head it's always advised, don't go in there emotional, because you will say and burn bridges, say things you're not supposed to say. The second one I've seen is some people thinking that their daughters or their sons are LeBron, and they don't even know the fundamentals, right? And they come saying, my daughter and my son need to play, and I'm like, let's shoot 10 free throws. If your son makes 7 free throws, they're ready. Well, he's been practicing. I'm like, yeah, but let's make them. That's the point. So, but there are others who would come in and truly say, what you said. Look, I understand I understand now what you said. I'll come to what you said. I understand what's going on. I understand you want to win, AAU, you want to go to to nationals, etc., and all these different things. But the coach, there's the factor of development. So you got a 12th grader, yeah, they're leaving, yeah, but yet and still they still need to create those memories. uh, and then you have to develop your bench in terms of, hey, something's going to happen in a year or two, so I need to be playing game game experience is so important for naive, fresh, scared new players, because they have to get in the game and understand, wow, there are 100 eyes looking at me right now with the ball in my hand, or I'm about to go and tap, or to serve, everybody's looking at me. Get rid of those jitters, because after you get rid of those, then you start thinking on, okay, the fundamentals. Let me start. Then strategy, because you can't think strategy when you're scared. So I applaud you. Where you're going to talk, because even for me, it's emotional. As a coach with a daughter playing, my wife would say, "Why didn't they play my daughter? And we're paid all this money to travel from here there." I'm like, I said, "Honey, your daughter can't play." Your daughter can't
Yeah.
play now. Your
Well, and
daughter
it's
can't.
one thing if it's a case, but it's not every single game for the entire. Like that's the thing is, like I said, it's not like I went to one game and I didn't see my daughter playing and I wouldn't have
True,
this conversation.
true.
It's time and time again. And she says he doesn't even let me practice. I'm like, the girls are there to
What?
play.
What do you mean to practice? Doesn't allow you
No,
how
he
to
doesn't. At
practice?
practice, he does the same thing as the games.
Oh, stop
Just
that.
has the tall ones
No.
playing because he's trying to make this team winning, and it's not where that's what I'm saying. It's like I had a little bit of
Oh,
backstory there too, because
practice.
it's
Alan,
not, it's just,
Alan
again,
Iverson.
like I said, he's not a
Alan.
natural coach. But the only way we can learn is to be willing to listen to one another's perspectives.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
that's why I went in with a question and not a, how come you have my daughter sitting on the bench every week?
Mm.
You don't go in with that. Like that's rude. Like that, first of all, that'd be very disrespectful of his position, regardless if he's good at it or not. But the question, I'm wondering why you don't rotate your bench, is a curiously valid one. And he couldn't answer my question.
When is the
Not
next game?
justifiably. You're gonna fly in and show. Well, we don't have any more home games. They're all away. But and then we're getting to the end of the season. So it's, and again, it's not about any one part. I mean, I think part of my story in this is to say it's about ourselves. It's about the control we have to ensure that we're not walking around projecting our anger or carrying our anger, or you know what I mean? Like, I realized that it wasn't about the story that I was angry. It was that I wasn't talking to him about it. I wasn't having the conversation. I mean, all the other parents are like, why are you people don't mind talking behind people's back. I'm not one of those people. I can't just sit there and go, oh, the coach sucks, the coach sucks, the coach sucks.
Yeah.
And not go forward and have I just can't. And so some people, again, I'm not saying everybody has to be like me, but we need to be like who we are. Like, if we don't honor our own selves and how we're made, and own our own feelings and say, okay, what am I going to do about that? Do I just want to be angry at this man? Or do I want to move forward and I think the anger is about the fact that I'm not having the conversation. I want to share. I want to know.
Get
I
it
want
off
to
your chest.
know what his reasoning is. Right? Because maybe he'll say something and I'm like, oh, I did not see that perspective. Thank you.
So let me just play along with this, because I want to play with it. So he didn't give a reason. So what I know you said it's off your chest, right? So
Mhm.
on my end now, from my perspective, if I'm doing this, I really want to know the reason now. I really want to know the reason, coach. So, coach, you haven't given me a reason. Can you just help me, so I can help myself, because when everything, there's a reason that you don't want to share with me. Because
Yeah,
there is a reason.
yeah. There's
You
always a
know,
reason we do
Tracy?
anything.
There's always a reason that maybe, but you said it before. You see, for those of who are just coming on, I see a couple of people coming on. You We're talking about expressing yourself and not letting it fester your anger, but in expressing in a proper way. What's proper? I pray you do it respectfully, gracefully, and not taking a bat to the coach's head. But we're talking about Tracy's daughter, who's playing on a volleyball team where the coach isn't a coach, but someone who stepped up to assist the team. Right? Am I right, Tracy?
Yeah, and I think
So
we can just jump
so
into what we're talking about. We don't need to catch
I
people.
know.
They can go back and listen to replay if they
No,
want.
no, no, no. This people just got in. But what I want to say here is that's the fact. I think that's part of the issue with I'm gonna come on another end now, right? Would it be could it be better to just not play, right? Because the trauma of having someone who doesn't understand the impact, because if a real coach would understand the impact of not even practice, I think I can just hear Allen Iverson telling him practice, practice, practice. You haven't seen that, have you, Tracy? It's you should go and look for Allen Iverson, and it's a funny one where they were talking about he's one of the best players in the world at the time, and they were talking about did you go to practice, and he's like practice. We're talking about winning games, and you're talking about practice, and he just went on and on talking about practice, practice. Well, this year it was a good example of how to communicate effectively so that the coach could hear what you were saying. So often in everyday life, I see people projecting and the other person doesn't even hear them because they're so fixed on defending themselves. True, true. But yeah, so the trauma, you see, so sometimes we pray for it and someone stands up to say, okay, I'll do it. We see that aspect that, yay, thank you for standing up. But then there's something much more detrimental because this is somebody who's playing with fire they've never played with before, right? Like if I'm playing, see, if I'm a coach, if you're a coach, you've played before, and I'm not sure if the brother or this person have played in or at whatever level before, but you would understand the dynamics of this. You would understand that for somebody who would come to practice, my thought process is if you're at practice every single day, every time, you're respectful, you're accountable, right? You're a hard worker. You can be at practice and be lazy. Now I'm going to put you. I'll let you play, but your playing time is really low. But if you're at practice every single time and you're hustling and doing what I'm telling you to do, you're definitely in the game. You know, you're definitely in the game, and that has. And now I'm getting personally upset now thinking about a situation that happened in my shoe. So my son plays, he hustles, he does everything, and I'm not the one to put to to think my person is way better than who they are. Point blank, I'll tell you, man, you need to improve on X, Y, and Z because that's the only way I can let you play. But I'm coaching my son. He's hustling, doing everything right. They have the first cut. This is senior varsity, his senior year. First cut, he makes it. Second cut, he makes it. Third cut, he makes it, Tracy. They start to do the parade, the day of the parade. Do you know this coach at Apex Friendship High School? Yeah, in the year 2020. I hope you're watching this. 2019, 2020. This dude comes and he cuts my son after all three cuts are done. And I'm the reason why this came to mind is the coaches, they don't understand the power they have, even if they're not a real coach. But as soon as you put you bestowed coach on that person, you're in a position of power. You're in a position of respect. You're in a position of accountability. So he goes and he takes my son off the team after he has called them the last play. You guys made the team. Congratulations. Da 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 da. Takes him off for the son of a teacher in the school. Traci, I told my son, can I go and talk to him? Because I wasn't going to get upset. I was just going to say, can you explain why you did what you did?
So your strategy. Yeah. Can you explain your strategy?
Yeah. He says, Daddy, no, it's okay. I'm like, are you sure? But do you know what that did to my son?
I can imagine.
That's why I'm getting pissed off now with this guy. Because
did you talk to him?
Talk to who? The guy? The coach? So my son told me, so, Daddy, please. And I respected him because
that's why you're still pissed off.
That's why I'm still pissed off. But guess what? I looked at him and I told him, and there's still residual issues from that thing. Because what it did, it messed with his confidence. It messed big time with my son's confidence. He had put in the work. He had put in the time. I had woken up 5 a.m., 4 a.m. to take him to put shots up. We put in the time. And then you come and cut him. So I told him, I said, for every time I see that man, because I haven't expressed myself. I just want to run him over.
Because you haven't expressed yourself. I mean, we carry the anger because we don't express it. Like it's expressing is processing, right? So if we don't express it, we carry it because we think we think because it's in the past, it's gone away. No, the anger's still there. We're just shoving it down somewhere else.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to email him. I think
you should call him.
I'm going to find his number and I just might put him on Eavesdrop in a moment and say, we want to talk about basketball and say, hey, you remember in 2019 what you did?
Oh, yeah.
But here's the point. Traci, here's the point though. Here's the point. I'm happy. Yeah. Oh no. Jeff, definitely. If you choose, you can ask, what is a lesson in being cut? Oh, trust me. I was cut from multiple teams, right? So I understand all of that.
But I think what we're talking about, because we can always look at the lessons on all sides. What we're talking about is owning our emotions, and we're also talking about coaching. And for those of us who know, I've never coached a sport, but I've coached. And so it's one of those things that you I don't say you have to do anything, but you get this opportunity to look at the holistic, impact of your strategies, of your approach, of how you handle things. And that was my whole reason for questioning is that I could see, especially that exchange student, just totally deflated, sitting over there the entire night, just miserable.
Oh yeah.
And all she wanted to do, she's come to this country to experience things. She didn't come to experience sitting on her butt. She came to experience play and being with the team and being a part of the team. And that made me almost more angry than not seeing my own child play. But that was the whole point. Is that let's look at this from a holistic standpoint.
Yeah.
These kids are not winning. They're probably one of the lowest, I hate to say it, but they've lost more than they won. Let's put it that way. This isn't the Olympics. We're not here to do that stuff. We're here to give these kids the experience to do what they love,
Experience. Yes.
play. Yes, to be with
Yes.
one another on the court, because
Yes.
I watched the joy. And I was so proud of my daughter too, because, she was joyful on the sidelines, giving people high fives when they came off, all of that. Like, her attitude the whole time was
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Hmm.
you gotta be proud, as a
Hmm.
parent to see that. But,
Hmm.
and it wasn't always like that. There's a couple games and she was mortified we were there because we didn't even get to see her play. I was like, well,
Yes.
I like watching the team,
Yes.
but there's only so many
Yes.
times you can say that when your kid is like, I mean, when she saw us walk in last night and they were practice serving, you kind of see her
Mm.
stand up a little taller, and you
There
know,
you go.
this.
Yes.
You know this about having your own
Yeah.
parents come when you play the sport. There's just
Yes.
something special. And
Yes.
then when you don't get to play, not only does that stink because you want to be playing, just you want to be playing, but you want to, your parents are there. So
Mm.
I was really proud of her. And but I think that what we're talking about is, because this guy kept saying, "Well, you want it? You want to do it?" I said, "No, I don't want to do it, but that's not my
Oh,
question."
wow. Wow.
And 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 it's one of those things that it's like, clearly he hasn't thought through these things, clearly, because we wouldn't be
Mm.
having the conversation if he had.
Mm.
But
Mm.
to your point, one of the other parents said the same thing. It's like, I don't think he understands how detrimental his choices are,
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
isn't just the kids sitting out, it's the kids playing.
Oh.
And
Mm.
I mean, they feel guilty. They're friends with the ones sitting. And they're like, I want to play, but they can feel
Correct.
the inequality of it all.
Ooh.
And, it's funny because when I was talking to the coach, there was a number of them walking by and they're all like,
Ooh.
you know, kind of, she's saying when nobody else wants to,
Mhm. Mhm.
and yet I think it's important because on some level they're like, yeah, I'm glad somebody's saying something, because we
Yeah.
we don't feel, as students, we don't feel like we have a
Wow.
voice. So
Mm.
if the parents aren't willing, and again, to your point, we don't want to be the parents that are yelling from the sidelines and being obnoxious and calling obscenities and,
Yeah.
pushing it in like that. It just does not need to be handled that way. But it ends up
Mm-mm.
being that way when parents don't take a stand in a
Correct.
respectful way. They
Yeah.
harbor frustration. They harbor frustration, and maybe it's not even about what's going on the court. Maybe it's from their job. Maybe it's from their relationships. Maybe it's from
Oh, yeah.
something else, and they bring it into that room, and then they just all. This is what happens when we don't process our emotions.
Correct.
Is it
That's
comes
true.
out in ways that then make even worse, are influencing the situation in a worse way than what we have going on. So, that's what we're talking about. Yes, there's always lessons on the other side. I think about that all the time. There's a
Oh,
lesson
yeah.
in this, for all of us. But
And
I realized in that moment, my anger wasn't about what the lesson I needed to learn, across the board. It was that I needed to say something.
gotcha, gotcha. But Jeff, to your point, as in, because this is eavesdrop in a moment, we can pivot anytime we want to pivot. There's an aspect to it that gave him resilience, right? In the face of of someone who may have control over you for a moment, but not letting them have control over you for a lifetime, right? Because sometimes the moments turn to a lifetime, because every time you get in a situation, the person goes back and says, coach, boss, someone who's in charge, these things trigger that. So I'm not going to do my best. I'm just going to be okay. I'm not going to be involved. I'm not going to put myself into this because I don't want to get hurt again. Don't do that. And and it's something, that lesson, Jeff, was learned over time, and I think we're still working on that particular lesson, right? That, hey, dude, I can tell you something today that flippantly say something, and it's something that we have to guard and guide ourselves. As you were talking, I started to move away from the position of coach to a position, someone in a position of power. So Leadership is so important. And the way I said always have a 360-degree view of your decisions. And what that means for me is when I make a decision, I want to see all sides of it. And I'm human. I'm gonna miss. Not I may get 280. I may get 180. I may get 1 degree. But if I can think about the 360-degree view, I tell you, I'm better than not even thinking of it at all. Because here is why do certain players move from team A, get on team B, and become the superstar in the league? Move from team A in the workplace, get on team B. Why? Because the person who is coaching, the manager, the head, the president, the CEO, has developed something different that this person can blossom under. And now I hear someone saying, but not everybody can. No, everybody can learn how to make to create good soil for your employees or people under you to blossom. Period. I'm a true believer in that. You have, if you're leading a team, you have to make them blossom.
Yep.
Some people are so
Yeah. Well,
fearful. Some
and
people
how
are
do you?
so, one sec there. What some people are so fearful. Hold that. I'm going to complete this in a second. Some people are so fearful for letting people under them blossom because here's their lack mentality. Huh. That if this person blossoms, if this particular person blossoms, this person's gonna take my job. No, no, no. What's gonna happen is when you make everybody blossom under you, it lifts you up also. Golly, as this chair, as I'm pumping this chair is lifting and this chair is getting to a new height. I'm getting to a new height. And just in case that person who leaves and becomes your boss, so what? So what? It's important that you grow people. It's important that you give. It's important that you let, you may have hit the glass ceiling. Trust and believe you may have, but doesn't mean that you will keep every single person, the woman or the man beneath you saying, well, I've hit it. You're not leaving. Nah, you can't do that, people. Go ahead, Tracy. I'm off my seat.
No, I mean it's so true. And I think that different people have different reasons for why they don't manage well. I mean, some may be dealing with what you're saying is the fear that, oh, I won't, they'll take my position or whatever. I
Mhm.
think other people just, that's not their zone of brilliance. Management is not their skill set.
Ah,
And I see that a lot where people are put in management. I just was talking to a client. I got some texts from a client who I'd been working with a while ago, and I know their team, and she came to me, to give some insight, on something that had just happened with a long-standing employee who was in a management position, had been moved into a
mhm.
management position, and this person does not have natural management skills. And so, unless we are training people, and even then, when it's not natural, when it's not innate, because each person
Yeah,
is made for a different set of skills, it's still, you
correct.
can only get so good. But I see that more often. And kind of like this
Mm,
coach. I mean, is a well-intentioned man. He does not
yes.
only does he not have the knowledge, he doesn't have the skill sets. And
Mm,
that's why I feel very compassionate, towards him.
yeah,
He just
yeah.
doesn't know. I mean, I'm asking, it's like asking a 2-year-old why they don't know how to drive a car. They're not,
Mm,
not developmentally there and may never be. But, that's the piece that if we don't speak to that, if we don't put, that's what I basically said is what I'm hearing is going on is you have someone who is in the wrong seat and is trying to do what you're asking, even though they don't have the skill set, because they want
mm,
to please you, even though they have no idea what they're doing. And then they're lying to themselves as well, thinking, then they're
yeah,
beating up on themselves. And then they get so burnt out that then they just want to quit. Meanwhile, they haven't
correct.
had any of these conversations in a truthful, honest way with either themselves or with you. I would recommend
Mm,
going in and inviting them to have those truthful conversations.
that's true. That's true.
Right?
You know, just listening, and I like it. I'm enjoying this case study. It's a leadership case study. It's your daughter, how she's, her attitude, performing. Um, no, really,
I'm laughing because of Jeff's
I
comment.
know. That's why I put it up too. Help others out there who wouldn't understand. Yeah, so you have your daughter's attitude that's super cool. You have the other player who's twiddling her thumbs on there, the exchange student. You have the players who are playing and they're looking like, oh my goodness, she can play better than I can. That's on there also, right? The people who are playing, their height doesn't mean that you can play better than a shorter person. She's teaching me how, all this is bringing me back again. Now, this is a fun one. I'm not upset because I did something about it. I remember we were playing, it's Division One. No, it's semi-professional in Liberia here, and we were playing on this team, basketball team. The coach has his starting five. He's done. He's not even looking at the six man. Talk about the 10th. And I mean, I'm on there going to practice every single day. My brother's on the starting five. He's older brother. We're practicing, and I'm killing it at practice. I mean, I'm doing everything. I'm beating on them. We intentionally saying the starting five go on one team. We, the whatever you want to call us, the bottom five, we go on another, and we kill him the starting five. Yeah, he's there. Uh, then it goes to the practice, the game scenario where, in fact, at practice, I'm teaching them how to do left hand layups. Some certain point guards and two guards on the team, just how you do a left hand layup, because you got to be fundamentally sound. Bounce with your left hand. Do this. Like, he sees that. We go to the game and he doesn't play me. And Traci, I'm just on the bench. I need to show my profile. Like, then the crowd, he goes, Wulwyn. No, the crowd goes, play Wulwyn, play Wulwyn. So now that's the pressure that when you were explaining, with the parents start to say, play my son. What are you doing? Belligerently, they start doing that. So they put the coach in a position. So he looks down the bench, and I see him looking. I'm like, Wulwyn, go and play. I'm like, so I get in 2 minutes, I score 4 points. And he sits me now because he's checked the box. He checks the box, and then he puts the other person in there, and the person isn't scoring. And I'm going, and the team, the crowd goes, put him back, put him back. He's scoring, he's scoring. This man did this for half a season, Traci. Half a season. And this is where I want to empower the player or the student or the employee who's been who's aggrieved, I would say, right? And here's why. Here's how you're in that position. You're in that position because you have checked all your boxes. I'm not telling you that you go in there now because you're high and mighty saying, I can do this, and you haven't done it yet. No, hone your skills, practice, do what you need to do your presentations, do your research, be top notch. That's the first lesson here. Be on top of your game. Traci, you know what I did? I said, Mr. Coach, I'm leaving the team. And he goes, what? I said, yes. I said, I see that you have a way of playing, and we're sitting on the, I'm sitting, I didn't say we because I didn't care. I was looking for Wulwyn. Said, I'm sitting on the bench. When I go in, here are the points. Point number one, at practice, I outplay all your starting five. I teach some of your players how to use the left hand, how to do fundamental bouncing, how to do X, Y, and Z. During the game, when I get in, I score. What is it that you need me to do that I'm not doing, that I cannot get on this starting five, or that I cannot play? He's looking at me just like your coach, like, I said, so because of that, sir, um, I'm going to the rival team to play. And I was going. He comes, he calls a meeting. Um, let's Do you know that I think the very next practice, a new coach came in and I think he was fired. He was fired because, just as you were saying, there are certain things he was just so rigid. And this was a guy who played. So the bottom line here is this: know your position, know your value, know what you're bringing at the table. This is you, the person who's feeling the pain, not a secondary, not dad looking at his son not playing, mom looking at her daughter not playing, but it's you, the person who's going through the issue. One, make sure you've dotted all your i's and crossed your t's, because you cannot go into that meeting or that situation handicapped, because they will just hone in on your handicap and say, well, do that, right? So 360-degree view of it, from the coach's point of view, from the player point of view, from the employee point of view. Make sure you're 360 degrees of competence, I would say. And if nobody wants to use you, take your game somewhere else, really.
Yeah, and it's, I think the 360-degree thing is a good point, because a lot of times, I mean, we call it a 360 in business, right? It's where, you have a questionnaire, or you have, a question format where all of the employees get to answer questions about the leadership. And then, usually it's anonymous, right? And those that questionnaire,
Mhm.
and it's usually the coach, who comes in and, gathers up all the data and then goes and has the conversation and then brings the employees in to have a larger conversation, and we have to, we'll say we have to, because I always have to try and change that language. We get to open ourselves up to feedback, because with feedback comes perspective. That
Mm,
360, we can only get so many perspectives because we have blind spots. We all have
correct.
blind spots, not because we're an ego, not because we're not good people, because we just naturally have blind spots. There's going to be things that you could tell yourself you want to see, you're just going to miss because it's your blind spot,
Yep.
right? But other people see it. And so, one of the ways, I mean, based on what you just said, I would recommend for people, if you want that 360, is ask people around you. I want critical feedback, right? I don't
Yeah.
I don't want you to throw me under the bus, but I do want you to tell me honestly, why do you think
Mm,
the coach isn't playing me? Is there
yes.
anything I'm doing, when you're playing with me, that you see that could keep me from being able to play, or making it difficult for other people to play? Is ask for that feedback, be open to, be curious about, like you said, don't go in there with a handicap. Well, some of the ways we can
Mm.
do that, because one thing to say, take a 360 and don't go in with a handicap, but then people are like, well, how do I do that, right? You go by asking people around you, but also, what do you, not just what do you think, not just your perspective based on what you think, because the
Yeah.
perspective you have based on what you think is slighted, like it's skewed.
Highly, highly.
It's skewed, yeah. So if you're making your decision just based on that, that's why I sat back and watched a number of games before I said anything,
Mm.
right? Because I'm like, maybe I can figure it out. Maybe I don't even need to talk to the coach. Maybe I can
Yeah.
see, although it's hard to see when your daughter's actually not playing. But it's, maybe I can get a gist of what his strategy is. He doesn't have a
Yeah.
strategy. He just really doesn't, because he wasn't able to
Wow.
explain it to me. So I'm guessing he doesn't have one if he can't explain it.
Gotcha.
But
Well, it's a play the tall people.
what's that?
Play the tall people.
Well, yeah, that's a straight. Yeah, I don't know if that's a strategy, but I guess if that's what you're doing, that is your strategy. But it's this opportunity to sit back and not just what are you observing with your eyes,
Mm.
right? But
Mm.
what are you observing with your heart? What are your instincts telling you? What's your intuition telling you? You may get these little
Mm.
whisperings of, maybe you can start seeing, like, there's a semblance of some sort of strategy there. Like, if you're willing to look, because if you're just so fixated on, I don't see it, I don't see it, I don't get it,
Yeah.
you're not going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, watch with an open heart, not just open eyes, and take some time to really sift through the data points. What are you observing? What are you observing?
Yeah.
And, coming into last night's game, what I was observing, I was getting increasingly more frustrated.
Hmm.
And I know, because I say it to my clients all the time, most frustration comes from something you're not doing, right? In that case, what am I not doing? Right? This isn't about, I can make all sorts of stories up about what I'm seeing, but based on what I was feeling, I knew it was my own emotions. And when I got, I sat with that, I was like, oh, I'm really getting increasingly angry, and I'm getting increasingly upset. And I'm listening to other parents going, why aren't they playing this?
Yes.
Why aren't they,
Yes.
and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not the only one. And so I'm paying attention to this. And my answer was, I need to speak my truth. That's because I was paying attention to more than just the story. I was
Yeah.
getting more of a 360 of myself.
Correct.
Because it's not, I would tell people, we can get a lot out of following a story, but we can be so much more without one. When we move the story aside and we realize we are the ones making that story up, right?
Yeah.
We're the ones giving meaning to what is unfolding in front of us.
Yeah.
And therefore that reality, that story we're working on is our own. And I bet you anything I'm making up the story because I'm trying to teach myself a lesson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm using this environment as a catalyst. I'm an opportunist. So I'm opportunistically using my environment. And I say I, but it's true of all of us. We are opportunistically using our environments as an opportunity to teach ourselves something, to learn something, right? To grow.
Wow.
But we spend all our time projecting it on the world. The world's doing this to me, and this is, and we miss those opportunities. We miss those opportunities because, like I said, there's a night and day difference between how I was feeling last night and how I felt this morning waking up.
And it was and what changed was you speaking to him about it. Yeah.
It was me just letting it out, and in a way that I could feel proud of, that I could, again, we're in closest proximity with ourselves. So liking who we are is very important. You live closer to you than anybody else lives to you. So, we need to make decisions where we're going to be okay with our, within our own skin the next day.
You better be friends with yourself, right?
The other thing I want to say really quickly, because I just thought it was just such a cool thing, and this is totally off subject in a way, but resonate. When we're talking about studies they do with prayer, and collective prayer and the power of it. Well, this is was a scientist who studies vibration. And he's a scientist, and he got into this vibrational study stuff. And he's like, I was the person that was poo-pooing it the most in the beginning. He's like, I am a straight-on scientist. But then, you start looking at quantum physics and, these ideas of resonance, and we're all energy bodies and resonating. But they did this resonance study, and everybody has said that love is the highest resonance, right? For the longest time, like love vibrates at the highest level. And then I've seen studies where it's gratitude. Well, this recent study was authenticity. The man said, we did this study, and authenticity was off the charts, even above, well, maybe not off the charts, but it was off the charts, even above love and gratitude. And I started to think, what is authenticity? It's self-love. When we allow ourselves to be who we are, that's self-love. And apparently, that's the highest level of resonance we can reach.
Ta-da! And ladies and gentlemen,
full circle.
I'm going to end right there. Praying for all disasters around the world, wars in Lebanon, Israel, Palestine, just everywhere. We're just praying. We're praying for humans, that we start loving ourselves. Thank you, Traci. You have a good one. See you in 2 weeks, dear.
Thank you, Wulwyn. Thanks, everyone.
Sure. Bye-bye.